Today, we're diving into a book with a truly radical idea, Caroline Williams' Move. And in this analysis, we're going to unpack its central argument, which is this. We've been thinking about our brains completely backwards. And the key to a better mind? Well, it might just be found below the neck.
So to really get why this book is such a big deal, we have to start with a pretty staggering number. The data Williams presents shows that the average modern adult spends 70% of their life sitting or lying completely still. Just let that sink in. For every 10 hours you're awake, 7 of them are spent without moving. We've basically become a society of stackues. And this isn't how it's always been, not by a long shot. We are moving about 30% less than people did back in the 1960s. We have systematically engineered movement out of our lives. And while that might sound like progress, Williams argues it's created this silent crisis. We feel it in our bodies, for sure. But the real damage? That might be happening inside our head.
Now, this is a direct challenge to our whole modern fitness culture. The book's argument is that going hard at the gym for an hour doesn't even begin to cancel out the 8 hours you spend slumped over in a chair. Binge exercising, as she calls it, it's kind of like trying to offset a junk food diet by taking a multivitamin. It completely misses the point of what our bodies and our brains are actually hungry for, which is continuous, nourishing movement throughout the day.
And this brings us right to the core revelation of the book. It's a fundamental flip in how we understand the relationship between our bodies and our minds. In Move, Caroline Williams lays out this game-changing idea, and she backs it up with all this emerging science, from neuroscience to evolutionary biology. Her book suggests that our entire view of the brain as the body's commander-in-chief isn't just a little bit off, it's completely upside down.
So here's the crucial point. We just assume our brains evolved for complex thought, for poetry and physics and philosophy. But the book argues that's all just a happy side effect. The brain's its original purpose, was to execute complex movement. Williams shares this incredible example of the sea squirt. This little creature has a basic brain while it's swimming around, but once it finds a nice rock to attach to for the rest of its life, the second it stops moving for good, it digests its own brain. The lesson there is as brutal as it is brilliant. No movement, no need for a brain.
And this just illustrates that paradigm shift perfectly. The old view saw the brain as this CEO sitting in a skull-shaped corner office, barking commands down to the body, which was seen as just a meat suit. But the new model that's presented in the book is so much more collaborative. The brain is more like a chat room facilitator, hosting this constant, lively conversation between all the different parts of the body. It listens just as much as it talks, and our thoughts, our feelings, they're the result of this body-wide conversation.
Okay, so if movement is the answer, where in the world do we start? Well, Williams argues we begin with the simplest, most fundamental human activity of all, just walking.
And Nietzsche wasn't the only one. From Darwin pacing his thinking path to Steve Jobs and his famous walking meetings, great minds throughout history have instinctively understood this connection. The book really dives into the science of why walking is such a powerful mental tool.
Okay, now this is one of the most fascinating things described in the entire book. It turns out our bones are actually endocrine glands. Who knew? So when we walk, the simple stress of our own weight on our skeleton causes our bones to release a hormone called osteocalcin. This hormone then travels up through the bloodstream to the brain, where it directly boosts the function of the hippocampus, our memory center. So think about that. Your next walk isn't just about clearing your head. You are literally using your skeleton to send a memory-enhancing hormone directly to your brain. And it doesn't stop there. The book explains this state called hypofrontality. Basically, when we do some kind of easy, rhythmic movement like walking, the activity in our prefrontal cortex, that's the logical, critical editor part of our brain, it quiets right down. This allows our minds to wander and make all these strange, brilliant connections that you can never force. It totally explains why your best ideas always seem to pop up in the middle of a walk, not when you're staring at a blank page. You're not thinking harder, you're just creating the conditions for your brain to think better.
But the book doesn't just stop at walking. Next, it explores an even deeper connection, the one between our physical strength and our own mental resilience.
The book really makes you stop and consider a fundamental question. We usually think of strength in terms of how you look or how much you can lift. But Williams forces us to look deeper and ask, what is the internal, the psychological sensation of being strong?
And to answer that, we have to understand this key concept called interoception. You can think of it as your sixth sense, really. It's this constant stream of data your body is sending to your brain about its internal state. It's the biological basis for everything from feeling hungry to having a gut feeling that something's just not right. In short, it's how your body talks to your mind. And this, for me, is the real heart of this whole chapter. When you build physical strength, you are fundamentally changing the messages your body sends to your brain. That internal chatter starts to shift from "I'm fragile" or "I'm tired" to this visceral, biological signal that just says "I am capable, I can handle this." This isn't just positive thinking. This is changing your sense of self from the cells on up.
And to really highlight how urgent this is, just look at this data cited in the book. A 2016 study found that the average grip strength of a young man today is way lower than it was back in 1985. It's a drop from 117 pounds of force down to just 98. As a society, we are literally getting weaker. So based on the book's argument, you have to wonder, as we get physically weaker, are we also losing our collective mental resilience?
So after digging into these core ideas, what's the final verdict? Well, Move isn't just a fitness book. It's more like a manifesto for rethinking our entire way of life. So let's recap the big points from our analysis. First, our sit-on-the-couch lifestyle isn't just a physical problem. It is a neurological crisis. Second, the brain's original job wasn't thinking. It was moving. Third, simple things like taking a walk are powerful cognitive tools that literally change your brain chemistry. Fourth, building physical strength fundamentally rewires your sense of what you're capable of. And finally, maybe the most important takeaway of all, your mind isn't the boss. It's in a constant, dynamic conversation with your body.
Now, it's really important to remember this has been our review and analysis of the key arguments in Move. We've paraphrased the big ideas and added our own commentary to explore them. But to get the full depth, all the fascinating studies, and the complete story, we highly, highly encourage you to go read Caroline Williams' original work for yourself.
And so we end with the question that the book really leaves you with. Through every little ache, every rush of energy, every single gut feeling, your body is part of the conversation that is creating your mind. The challenge that Move leaves us with is simple, but it's also incredibly profound. Are you listening?